What's going on, Avs Nation? Welcome to another episode of Locked On Avalanche, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. On today's episode, we will be stealing a segment that Adam from Locked On Lightning and I do over on Locked On NHL, where we do the power rankings. So there is league-wide, well, I shouldn't say league-wide, playoff-wide power rankings, and we will get to those. This is voted on by all the hosts across the Locked On NHL Network. And we have Instagram questions to get to. And if we have time, that candy conversation has gone off the rails in a good way. So maybe we'll bring that up too. But all that, maybe more. We'll get to it. Let's do it.
Your Locked On Avalanche, your daily podcast on the Colorado Avalanche. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Avalanche fans, welcome to the Locked On Avalanche podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Chris Maselli. With me, as always, Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day. That is always appreciated. Follow the show on social media outlets, LOPN_Avalanche on Twitter, Locked On Avalanche on Instagram. Questions, comments, concerns, opinions to lockedonavalanche@gmail.com, and follow us over on our YouTube channel over on YouTube. Hit subscribe, get notified when a new show goes live. So yeah, a couple things to get to today, which will be fun and exciting. We have a power ranking to get to, and I know I normally do this. I host the Thursday edition of Locked On NHL. So Adam Denker and I do that over on Locked On NHL. But we're going to do it here. I mean, it's a network. I shouldn't say it's a Locked On NHL network wide thing that all hosts vote on. This is not. I always have to put that up there, a caveat when I host that show, because people like to think that it's just Adam and I that come up with those rankings, and it's not. It is voted on by all of the hosts, Kyle included. We're a little bit lucky because we get 2 votes. Hey, we're I don't care. So we're going to talk about that and then some Instagram questions to get to. But just wanted to check in on, we just finished watching a Ranger game. The Rangers staying in it. I don't know how much it had to do with Sidney Crosby going out. I'm sure it had something to do with it. But they had a ferocious comeback. And so what's the Panthers game right now? That's still on. What's that score? Do you know? Let me look.
I know the Panthers came all the way back, and
they are winning now 4-3.
It's concerning.
4-3 with 8 minutes to go. So man, this is playoff hockey. What do you?
And all the games tonight have the implications of setting up the next round. So
exactly,
another thing you want to keep an eye on.
Exactly. So, maybe the St. Louis Blues and the Wild, they play tonight, so maybe that wraps up. We'll have to see. So let's get to the power rankings, sir, and we will bring these up right. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a nice little graphic for you. If not, we'll kind of go through this. So obviously the Avalanche are at number 1. I don't think that's going to surprise anybody. And obviously number 16 are the Nashville Predators because they're no longer in this thing. So, and we do want to say that this was done prior to last night's game. So we voted on this, and then it was released in the afternoon sometime on Wednesday. So as you see, like the Penguins up 3-1, obviously that is now 3-2. So a game behind on some of these games because the graphic was released in the afternoon. But I do still think that holds true with the Penguins as far as they are up 3-2. They are at number 2 in this power ranking, and I had them at number 2. I will admit that I put. Them
I
at
did
number
not.
2.
I did not. I flip flopped 2 and 3. 3 being Toronto.
Okay.
Just what Toronto is putting together right now, I value that over. I watched not the game last night. I think that was game 3 of the Rangers Pens series. the Penguins absolutely dismantled the Rangers and took the soul out of the Rangers, and you could see like that team give up in that game.
Yeah.
And it's one of those. This is the playoffs. Like, this is not regular season. If you see your team doing that, that's not a good quality to have in the playoffs. So, what I see out of Toronto, I haven't seen quit even when they're down. So, I had them ranked higher than Pittsburgh.
And you know, my Stanley Cup final was Avalanche and Maple Leafs, and I just am very surprised how Pittsburgh has really handled that series, and they were up.
Yeah.
They were up 3-0 in this game, or was it 3? No, was it 3-0 or 2? Let me double check, because this game just ended, so I don't have.
I want to say it was 2-0.
They were up 2-0. They were up 2-0,
Yeah.
and then gave up the 3. But then they tied it at 3, and then the Rangers got another one, and then an empty netter. So I'll go through these for the people listening. I'll go through these. I want you to, while I'm doing this, double check your mic, because I want to make sure you have the right microphone on, because I don't know if your good microphone is on. So I'll go through these while Kyle does that. But I'll see at number 16 is the Predators. Number 15 is the Oilers. There you go. I heard you just come back in, so you're good. Number 15 is the Oilers. 14 is those Rangers. 13 is the Bruins. 12 is the Minnesota Wild. 11 is the Dallas Stars. 10 is the Washington Capitals. 9, Los Angeles Kings. 8, Calgary Flames. 7, Tampa Bay Lightning. 6, St. Louis Blues. 5, Florida Panthers. 4, the Carolina Hurricanes. And then 3 is the Maple Leafs, 2 is the Penguins, and our Avalanche are number 1. I'll go straight to 15, man, with Edmonton. Like, this continues to surprise me. The Kings get a win. They are 1 win away from moving on. And I think those Oilers being at number 15 is just one of those things where it's like, until you prove you can do something more and get at it, namely get out of the first round, we're not going to give you credit when it comes to power rankings.
It's what we talked about in the crossover with Locked On Predators. Just a team of individuals. That's Edmonton. And they did all of this to pay for your McDavids, your Dreisaitl's, but did not address the goalie position, which was the glaring issue from last season.
Yeah.
And it's just a bad team. It's a really bad team with really good players.
Right. That's the right way to phrase it. They have some of the best players on the planet. But what has it gotten them right now?
Edmonton is like your Miami Dolphin Dan Marino situation. They have really good players that are tallying all these really good seasons, but just can't push through to get the big one. No. And I honestly, if McDavid doesn't get things together, they don't put a team around them, they could McDavid could be Dan Marino of the NHL.
God, I can't imagine that happening, because I kind of feel like with the way, free agency is and everything like that, now players are more apt to move around. So if he genuinely feels like by the end of this contract, it's not happening in Edmonton, he walks. And it's not like there's not going to be a slew of teams lining up to pay him. You know that there will be. He will have his pick, and it will come down to if he feels like Edmonton is heading in the right direction or not. But you have to wonder, even right now, does he feel like they're heading in the right direction? You can't feel that way if you're constantly losing in the first round. And they haven't yet, so let's give them a little bit of time. But if it does happen, if we're getting ahead.
Yeah, and the other thing about Edmonton, they're changing head coaches like they're changing underwear. I don't know how many head coaches McDavid has seen.
I mean,
there you go. I don't know how many head coaches.
All sorts of problems today. Yeah, we're banging on all cylinders today. Go ahead.
I don't know how many head coaches McDavid has seen in his time in Edmonton. How do you feel good about where that team's going when they're constantly, it's a revolving door of head coaches?
Yeah, that doesn't help. Doesn't help at all. So, they got the Rangers now. They are down 2-3. I don't know if they move up that much more, maybe a couple spots, but still, they have a lot of work to do. I think it's interesting where the Blues and the Wild are. That's been a very good. So look at this. So you have the Maple Leafs and the Lightning back and forth. You know what I mean? And you have Maple Leafs at 3 and the Lightning at 7. So 3 teams in between them. You have the Blues and the Wild battling out, and you have the Blues at 6 and the Wild at 12. So people are kind of thinking there's a larger discrepancy between this Blues and Wild series that is going back and forth than the Maple Leafs and the Lightning. They think there's a lot more closeness to the Maple Leafs and Lightning than there is to the Blues and the Wild. Would you agree with that?
1,000%, because Minnesota is Marc-Andre Fleury and Kirill Kaprizov. St. Louis is more of a complete team with 2 goalies.
They are, yeah. Minnesota. But what Kaprizov's doing is insane. Like, he is playing out of his mind right now. Like,
but that's not his
fault.
But then we just put Edmonton at 15 for the very same reason.
It's true. That's true. So, and then you have Calgary at 8. I think a lot of people were thinking that they would be higher up on this because the series would not be tied at 2 at this point. So, and they are. Let me see that one.
They just dropped the puck.
Did they? Yeah, I thought that was yes. They're about halfway through the first now, so 0-0 on that one. It's getting closer to the final between the Panthers and the Capitals. Panthers are still up 4-3. Man, Washington. Now if they lose this, you've lost that last game where you gave up the goal with 2 minutes left and then you lose in overtime, and now you have a 3-goal lead. And if you surrender that, like, that is so demoralizing. So I don't know. But sitting on top of all of this is our wonderful Colorado Avalanche, with the only one with an ADV next to their name.
Yeah, you know me.
And up to this point, there's nobody else that has. Like, the Penguins had an opportunity. Not going to happen. I don't think any of the games going on right now could potentially...
All the games that are being played tonight have the potential of advancing.
Tonight, as we're recording tonight.
Yes.
So we have to kind of preface that. So there you go. There's your NHL, Locked On NHL power rankings. And these can change by the day if we did it daily, because that's what happens in the playoffs. It's just back. The Rangers might have moved up a couple spots, but you never know. And with the Panthers maybe coming down to the wire winning, would that improve that? Would they leapfrog the Hurricanes or the Maple Leafs? I don't think so, because they're struggling. They're struggling to win these games against the Capitals, and that's not a knock on the Capitals. The Capitals were very game and up for that. So
yeah, and if you would have had this ranking at the beginning of the playoffs with Nashville, Edmonton, New York, Boston, and Minnesota, like at the end, that would have been really hard to comprehend, and like Pittsburgh being at 2. But with what we've seen in these playoffs and the tenacity and the environments, like, it makes sense to us now. But at the beginning of the playoffs, there was no way you're ranking it this way.
Right. Interesting. So there you have it, and we'll see what happens next week. Maybe we'll do this again. Well, we probably won't, because the Avalanche will be playing. Right now, there's not a lot going on in Avalanche world, so we figured we'd throw some power rankings out at you. All right, let's get to Athletic Greens, then we'll get to some listener questions over on Instagram. But our next partner has a product that Kyle and I have been using literally every day. That is Athletic Greens. And if you want better gut health, more energy, optimized immune system, and you hate taking pills or vitamins, and you wanted a supplement that actually tastes great, and you want to see what the hype is all about, get Athletic Greens. With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you are absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced superfoods, and probiotics to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and your aging. All the things. Actually, all of the small things.
Hey
now. Athletic Greens was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up on a complicated supplement routine to recover, and it cost him over $100 a day. So he created Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create an optimal nutrition routine on your own. It costs you less than $3 a day. And if you're investing in your health, it's cheaper than your daily cold brew and coffee habits. You're investing in an all-in-one nutritional insurance. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with a convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day, and that's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Once again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. All right, we will get rid of those power rankings and bring our wonderful faces back up. Swipe those away. And we threw up the questions up on Instagram, which are always fun to get, and we'll kind of go through those and answer as many as we can. So we have a couple segments to go, and this will be the rest of the show. So here we go. You got Brandon France, who asks, what is the best Avs team of all time? We've talked about this in the past, and I kind of feel like the question, the answer right now is, for me, the 2000-2001 team. But if this team can complete the season with a cup, we're having a different debate, I feel.
Yeah, this team has all the makings to be the best Avalanche team of all time. When this question came up, I know they did not accomplish a single thing, but that 2003-2004 Colorado Avalanche team that had Paul Kariya, Teemu Selanne, and you had Forsberg and Sakic on that team. Wow. It was the year after Wall retired. It's often forgot about, but we had Paul Kariya, Teemu Selanne wearing Avalanche sweaters at one point. So when I hear the best team, on paper, they should have beat everybody.
Yes. And
just did not happen.
Right. So we'll see. I mean, that is a question that we will revisit in the offseason. Mm-hmm. I can guarantee you that. Goose, there's 3 G's in goalie. So Goose goalie asks, can the Avalanche make it past the second round this year? And here we go. That is going to be what people are kind of focusing on, is can they get out of the second round? The answer to that is unequivocally yes.
Yeah.
But because they have this thing hanging over their head, people will question it. I get it, but it should not be the very first thing that people are thinking about. This team is prepped, ready to go. They're using all of those former years as motivation for it to not to happen again. I'm not saying that it can't, but they're this is the most complete team that they've had in any of those other second round exits. So yes, without a doubt, this team can get out of the second round.
It would be honestly, the Avalanche could play any team right now in the West in that second round, and I would feel really good about it.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of that second round, our good friend Beth, she asks the series predictions and the length of the series for each of our potential opponents in the Blues and the Wild.
I say Blues in 6.
Well, no, you're saying Avs in 6.
Well, yeah, Avs in 6. If it was,
well, I mean, we're careful how you phrase that.
Yeah, it will be the Blues series in 6 games. Yeah. Avalanche win.
Yeah.
If it was Minnesota, that has it might go 5, but it also could end up 6, depending on that physicality that Minnesota likes to play with. Mm-hmm. If that buys them an extra game. But you feel like that one would be a little bit shorter, especially if this series between St. Louis and Minnesota keeps going on.
Mm-hmm.
You feel like those projections for what the next round looks like will get a little bit shorter.
I just want to preface this by saying I'm horrible at doing this guessing game thing, but I feel it's the opposite. I feel if I'm going Blues against the Blues, I think it's Avs in 5 or 6, If it's against the Wild, I would say 6, potentially 7. I wouldn't see it going 7, but if the Avs are on their game, I think that would go 6. So it wouldn't surprise me if either of these series go 6. But if you're forcing me to like kind of pick a range, I would say Blues 5 or 6, Wild 6 or 7.
Yeah,
to where I'd go. I just feel like I think the Avalanche. I mean, I know the Avalanche match up well against both of them. I just feel like Minnesota would do better at their changes working better for them against the Avs than the Blues changes doing anything. I just feel like the Avs are so, and the Blues had a really good season, and they started to pick it up again towards the end of the year. I just feel like when you're running into the buzzsaw that's the Colorado Avalanche, they're not going to really the changes that they need to make are not going to benefit them because in the end, their goalie situation can't hold up against the Avs.
It's a 100% healthy Colorado Avalanche team against like the Blues they have injuries and like Minnesota's starting to pick up a little bit. So,
yep. So we got, and I want to hear what people think about that question too. I'm sure people in the comments give us your predictions for either of those playoff scenarios. Nick Bichelle, we always hear from Nick.
The Sheriff.
Yeah. Does playoff mode Berkey make an appearance in the second round? Go ahead.
You would hope so. Especially after literally sending one through the net. You would think this is his his little bit of like a little awakening, but you would like it to happen, especially like in the series with a lot tougher competition. You have that feeling it's right there.
Yeah, and I think how I responded to him was he has to. Like, this is the playoffs. Yeah. You need to show up, man. And he has. And his defense was much improved in the first round. But I think having him on the third line is the best thing for him and the best thing for the Avs because he should be head and shoulders above any of the talent that is out on that ice when he's playing on a third line. So take advantage of it. And he's not doing this. He's not sitting there and sulking, and I'm sure he wants to be up on the second line, but know that what you're doing on the third line is as important, maybe even more so when you're playing on the third line. So own it and just crush the competition because that's what you should be doing down there.
Yeah, so, absolutely.
Yeah. Ben, I don't know how to say it. I mean, I can't pronounce that. I don't know. Ben something says, he just asked our favorite player. So for me, like, there's no context to that. It was just favorite player. I don't know if he means of all time or right now. So I gave him 2 answers. All time, I've said it many times in the show, Peter Forsberg. Right now, this dude right there, Cale Makar, is head and shoulders above anybody else for me right now because you don't see talent like him very often. So easy for me.
All-time player. This is where like our friendship is founded. Peter Forsberg. Yeah. Like everybody knows me as the biggest Nas stan in the world. This season, I have fallen in love with Gabriel Landeskog in ways like just everything he does and brings to the team and like his off the ice stories from this year. I think this is probably my favorite Landy season I've witnessed, and I absolutely love everything he's done this year.
I would not fault you there. I think right behind Makar, he would be number 2. So I agree. One more, and then we'll take a quick break and then do some more. Our favorite Avs jersey ever.
Ooh,
I know it's weird because like changes for me from time to time. And the answer that I gave him was I absolutely love the first outdoor game against Detroit. I love that jersey. I think because I remember just searching Google every morning just to see if there was an announcement on, because that was a big deal. It still is a big deal when those jerseys get announced.
Yeah.
And when it came out, I was like, that's beyond what I ever thought it would be. And I love it.
Honestly, I don't know if this is just terrible to say. What we have going on right now with the jersey, and I think and the buckets, everything about the look current Avs jersey I think is the absolute best. It takes the aspects of the 90s jerseys, makes them cleaner, more refined, everything fits better. Like everybody has that nostalgia for the 90s jerseys. Go back and watch that film. It looks like children in like their parents' clothes. Like it doesn't fit right, doesn't look right. Their Coho jerseys, like this is a clean look, and like the buckets and everything. I think we are missing out on probably the best look for the Avalanche.
I loved it, man. When they came out with these, with the blue pants and the blue helmets and the blue gloves, I loved it. And then this year they added the blue numbers.
Yeah.
When they had the black pants and black, like the black helmets, it looked good, but it just didn't like pop at all. This does. And I loved it from day one. People hated it from day one. And I think it's grown on people because they've been doing it for a couple of years now. With the added blue letters, I like that look. I like the Avs white uniforms as much as I do their dark uniforms.
Yes.
Which typically I don't like any white uniform. It's just like, it's just so bland. But the way that they match those blue pants, just because it clashes, I like that look. So I am with you on that 100%.
And go back and look at like old footage and like maybe a couple years ago when Nathan McKinnon was wearing the black buckets and black pants, you'll be like, oh, and it strikes you weird.
It does. Now when you look at it, you're right.
How much you appreciate what you have now.
Exactly. Agreed. All right, let's hear from BetOnline, and then we have some more good questions to get to, definitely. So with our partners over at BetOnline, they continue to be the #1 source for all of your betting needs and sports info. You can find all the latest odds, news, and sports developments, including this year's basketball playoffs, Major League Baseball, all the fights, and obviously your NHL playoffs. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering information, from live betting to the playoffs to esports and more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. That's betonline.net. It's where the game starts. All right, back to the Instagram questions. Here's a really good one. Alejandro asks, what does it feel like to watch the Avs win a Stanley Cup? Because he's looking forward to that feeling. And Kyle and I are both old enough to remember the 2 Stanley Cup championships that the Avs won. I was 15 when they won their first one, so I was 20 when they won their second. So the feeling, it's tough to, 20 years later, it's tough to remember that feeling. But I do remember just the moment of Ray Bourque and him getting that. Like, I was just fixed on that television, and it's just one of the best moments. It's one of the best moments in Avalanche history. It's one of the best moments in hockey history. So, and then your team just winning a championship in general, it happens so infrequently. So you really have to take in those moments. And being a Broncos fan, they won a Super Bowl, was it like 6 years ago now? Mm-hmm. So you really appreciate, even when your team goes to the championship.
Yeah.
When it happens when you're in your teenage years, I don't feel like you really appreciate it as much as you do when there's a large gap in between. And then when they finally get back there, you're like, I have to take all this in because who knows when it can happen again. For the Avs, 20 years ago. Nobody thought we'd be waiting 20 years to at least get back to the Stanley Cup final, but here we are.
And I completely agree with you. And I think yes, if this is your first Avalanche Stanley Cup that you're going to be witnessing, it's going to be a great moment. It's going to be
potentially. Let's say potentially. I don't want to hex anybody here.
Yeah. I said if
yes.
If.
All right.
But for those fans that are like us that have been there through the whole ride since the beginning, I'll be driving to work and I'll think about Landy getting to pick up the cup. And I get kind of emotional. All that we went through from the in between, just thinking about it, that's the moment that a lot of Avalanche fans are looking for. The bookends, we're back.
Who's the first guy he hands it to if it happens?
Nathan McKinnon.
I'm going Eric Johnson.
Ooh.
I think it's Eric Johnson. been there a long time.
Yeah.
Just, you know what I mean? Like, and then I think you give it to McKinnon, and then you go down the line. But I mean, those two guys are best friends, and just what he's done for the franchise, I think it's Eric Johnson, the guy that it gets handed.
And I don't even think EJ takes it to himself. I think he takes it and immediately like shares it with Nate.
I don't know. I think he wants his moment in the sun. So I think he'll raise it.
He's that guy that's just like so humble. Like he's like, no, not me. Like you don't give it to me before Nathan McKinnon. Like give it to him. Let's go, and then I'll get my moment.
Yeah, we'll see. That'll be interesting. So, that one guy asks, Yeti foot on the shoulder or the Colorado Sea? For me, this is a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's like, now don't get me wrong, I love the C on the shoulder.
Yes, I do.
The Yeti foot it's honestly, it's one of the most requested things. Like now that we have the reverse retros, we have the Nordiques.
Mm-hmm.
It's Yeti foot.
It was just so unique. You know what I mean? It's one of those things where it was like, oh, who puts a foot on a jersey?
Yeah.
Like, okay, we'll do that. I don't know.
Like,
I hope at some point that comes back. I do.
And it was one of those alternate logos that you remember, like in the 90s and 2000s. You see it, you know, that's the Avalanche.
Yeah. Megadeth 28 asks, when's Dermy going to play? My response to him was, when does next year start? Because I just don't see him playing the rest of this year in the playoffs. I don't. I mean, he's improved. He was improved as the year went on, but you can't have a guy out there who's giving you 5 minutes a night just to hit some people.
McDermott can play anytime he wants. We're not taking his PlayStation away from him.
No, he's useful in the regular season.
Yeah, he can play whatever he wants. He can plug in that PlayStation and play whatever he wants, but while the rest of the team is on the ice and playing in the playoffs.
Yeah. And I think it was this Dagan Andreas, I think is how it said. What's your opinion on Frankie? Like, how good is he? He gets lots of mixed responses, so he's not sure. He's a solid backup is what he is. I don't think he's ever going to be a number one goalie in this league. He's been around way too long for that. Someone would have given him a shot. But he, you can see the difference. And I'm not a goalie coach, and, I never played the position. But you can if you follow hockey, you can see the difference between Darcy Kemper and Pavel Francouz. Just the technique. It just seems like Kemper anticipates shots better, sees the puck better, his positioning is better, and Frankie he stands a little bit too tall sometimes. So I feel like he lets those, when he's hugging the post, he doesn't hug it enough. He just does those little things that cause him to be a second backup goalie. But he's good at that job. If you need him to go out there and win you a game, you have confidence that he can do it.
And you know why he makes those mistakes and he has those bad habits? He's never been put in the position to carry 60 games, to carry 70 games in a year. Because there was that we talk about all the time. He was about to overtake Grubauer for that number one spot and got hurt.
There was a potential, yeah. He was playing that well.
Every time he gets to playing really well, there's a setback. There's an injury that prevents him from getting there. So he's always going to be the backup because he's never given that starting job because he can never get out of his own way.
Mm. Yeah.
So,
you're right.
if he ever had a season where he's taking like Darcy Kemper type rotations and he's in there night in, night out, good games and bad, he's going to lose all those bad habits, but he just can't get there. So he's doing what he's told. He's a role-playing goalie. Yeah,
and you have these backup goalies that sometimes just get this hot streak.
Yeah.
It happens. You see it a lot. I remember years ago when it was Henrik Lundqvist on the Rangers. I can't remember who was his backup.
Kevin Weeks?
No, it might have been. Didn't Antti Ranta play there for a while?
Maybe.
I think it was. I could be wrong on who it was, but he was out playing Henrik Lundqvist. the Rangers rode it for as long as you can do. You know what I mean? And then he came back down to earth. It's just the ebbs and flows of any hockey player. But with goalies, it's a little bit, especially with backups. You're not going to ride them for a full season, but they can get hot. Frankie did it. Frankie did it for the Avs, like you said. The year with that COVID cut it short. Francouz was the guy.
Yeah.
And Grubauer got hurt. He needed to step up, and he did. So that's what he's capable of doing. And I think we're lucky to have him because you feel. I mean, he just did it. Going up against Nashville, you felt comfortable that you can still win that game just as much as Darcy Kemper being in there. So
and like if worse comes to worse and we don't bring back DK, like you feel okay putting Frankie in there. If we didn't have Frankie, it would be right to Miska or Eustace. So
I don't think. I think the Avs would tread lightly there. I don't know, because you don't know what he can do over the course of a full season. You genuinely don't. So that'd be
you got the talent. You got the talent to bail him out.
I know that's a dangerous game to play, though. Very dangerous.
After we win the cup, who cares?
We're just playing with house money after that. So
that's right.
All right, everybody. Thank you for those questions on Instagram. We got to as many as we could. We like to do that at least once a week, and we'll definitely be doing that in the off season. So be on the lookout for that. Follow us over on Instagram and join in whenever we post those. So that's going to be it for today. We will be back tomorrow. Who knows what we got on the docket for tomorrow, but I'm sure more playoff hockey we'll be talking about. But thank you for making it first listen of the day. That's obviously always appreciated. Go check out me and Mr. Adam Denker over on Locked On NHL, where we'll be talking about these power rankings again, but you'll get Adam's take on it because I'm sure he's not happy where the Lightning are right now. And it's kind of fun to listen to him get angry. But go check that out for your second listen of the day. Until tomorrow, he is Mr. Shaggy Von Doom, Kyle Sullivan. I am Chris Maselli, and this is the Locked On Avalanche podcast. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.